The streets of Chicago never sleep. Power is shifting and danger is waiting in every shadow. Tommy Egan has built his empire brick by brick, but the cost of being king is higher than ever. In Season 3, the game is no longer just about money, it's about survival. Every move, every word, every bullet will decide who controls the city. And who gets buried beneath it. Last season left Chicago burning with betrayal, blood, and unfinished business. Tommy Egan stepped into the city with nothing but a dream to rule, and by the end of Season 2, he was standing at the edge of becoming the most feared name in the streets. But that rise came with scars that don't heal easily. We saw Tommy build alliances where trust was thin, and enemies where blood was thicker than loyalty. His brotherhood with Diamond grew into something powerful, but even in family, fractures began to show. Jenard, driven by ambition and jealousy, pushed against his own brother, threatening to pull everything apart. It was brother versus brother, and Tommy was caught in the middle of a storm that could drown everyone involved. Claudia Flynn carved her own path in the underworld, dealing in drugs that changed the game and left a trail of bodies in her wake. Her cold ambition didn't just test her enemies, it tested her family, the Flynns, once a strong force in Chicago, now crumbling under greed, mistrust, and violence. And then there was law enforcement. Watching, waiting, circling like vultures above the battlefield. Every deal Tommy made, every move he pulled, was under a microscope. His enemies weren't just on the corners of Chicago, they were sitting behind desks, wearing badges and planning. To take him down, the end of Season 2 was no victory parade. It was a warning. The streets of Chicago were on fire. Gunshots echoed, alliances cracked, and the throne Tommy fought for was still covered in blood. He wasn't the only one with eyes on the prize. New enemies surfaced in the shadows, hungry, ruthless, and ready to take everything he had built, and the cliffhanger left us gasping. Tommy, surrounded by enemies on all sides, forced to decide who he could trust and who he would bury. Chicago wasn't just his empire anymore. It was a battlefield. And every soldier was ready to die for their piece of power. As we step into Season 3, the past is not forgotten. The betrayals, the lies, the broken bonds, they all return sharper than before. The scars of yesterday fuel the wars of tomorrow. And in the world of power, one rule has always been clear. If you want to stay alive, you have to fight harder, strike faster, and never, ever back down. This season doesn't start with peace. It starts with blood. The empire is trembling, the players are restless, and Tommy's throne is far from secure. Chicago has always been a city of hustle, of grind, of survival. But now, it's a city where power comes at the price of trust. And in Tommy's world, trust is a weapon more dangerous than any gun. The recap is clear. Last season was the setup, but this season? This is the war. Every grudge, every deal, every scar will be dragged into the light. The stage is set, and Tommy is about to face the hardest truth of all sometimes. The biggest enemy isn't across the table. Sometimes it's standing right beside you, the streets of Chicago are shifting again, and Tommy knows it. Power doesn't sit still. It moves, it slips, it bleeds. What was once his path to dominance is now surrounded by cracks that threaten to swallow him whole. Season 3 begins not with celebration but with pressure. Pressure from enemies. Pressure from allies. Pressure from the very city that refuses to be tamed. Tommy's empire has grown. Corners are locked down, shipments move faster, the money flows heavier than ever before. But when the empire grows, so do the eyes watching it. Rivals lurk in silence, waiting for that one weak move. The police tighten their net, learning from every mistake, every drop of blood spilled on the pavement. And Tommy? He can feel the walls closing in? The game has never been this dangerous. The first thing Season 3 throws at us is uncertainty. Tommy's alliances are shaky, fragile, and full of betrayal waiting to happen. Diamond wants stability. Jenard wants revenge. The brothers are at war not just with the city, but with themselves. Their division becomes a weapon for anyone bold enough to strike. And in Chicago, there's always someone waiting to take a shot. Then comes the new players, faces we've never seen before. Shadows stepping into the spotlight with hunger in their eyes and bullets in their pockets. They don't just want a piece of the pie, they want the whole damn bakery. These rivals aren't playing by the old rules. They're younger, smarter, and colder. They understand that to take down a king, you don't attack his army, you attack his trust. You break the people closest to him, and that's where the real danger lies. Claudia Flynn isn't gone. If anything, she's more dangerous than before. Her silence is her weapon, her ambition her shield. She's building something in the shadows, something Tommy doesn't see coming until it's too late. She isn't fighting for survival anymore, she's fighting to win. And when Claudia fights, she fights with poison, with lies, with daggers. Hidden in smiles, law enforcement has its own cards to play. A task force, rebuilt and relentless, focused solely on Tommy's empire. They know his moves, they study his patterns, and now they're ready to strike. Chicago isn't just burning from the inside, it's under siege from the outside. Every phone call, every deal, every bullet has a pair of eyes tracking it. The question isn't if Tommy will get caught, it's how close he can dance to the flames without being burned alive. But this is Tommy Egan, a man who has walked through fire his whole life. He doesn't run from pressure, he uses it, he bends it. He makes it fuel, and in Season 3 that's what we see. Tommy doesn't slow down, he doubles down. He makes bigger moves, riskier plays, and deadlier choices. Every step forward is a gamble. Every deal a test of who really stands beside him. And that's the beauty of Season 3. It isn't just about building power. It's about protecting it. Chicago has always been a city of hustlers, but now it's a city of hunters. Everyone is hunting for the crown, and the closer you get to it, the sharper the knives become. For Tommy, every decision has two outcomes, control or chaos. There's no middle ground anymore. The season builds with intensity, gunfire in the night, whispers in the shadows, betrayals written in blood. The city itself feels alive, as if every street, every alley is waiting to explode. And through it all, Tommy stands at the center, a man who refuses to fall. But deep down, he knows the truth. Power never comes without a price. And this time, the price may be higher than he's ever paid before. So when the screen fades black, when the music pounds louder, when the narration cuts off on a single word, we understand one thing. Season 3 isn't about winning the game. It's about surviving it. And in Chicago, survival is the hardest victory of all. In the world of power, characters aren't just players, they're weapons. Each one carries their own fire, their own hunger, their own secrets. And in Season 3, those secrets don't stay buried. They rise, they burn, and they decide the future of Chicago. At the heart of it all is Tommy Egan. He isn't just a hustler anymore, he's a king in a city that refuses to be ruled. His empire stretches wide, but every step forward feels like stepping on broken glass. He's colder now, sharper, less trusting. Gone is the man searching for belonging. What we see in Season 3 is a warlord who knows the game will either crown him or bury him. His eyes are always scanning, his hand always near the trigger. But the deeper truth, Tommy is haunted. Haunted by ghosts of those he's lost. Haunted by the trail of blood behind him. Haunted by the fear that power may cost him the last piece of himself. Then there's Diamond. Samson, strong, loyal, calculated. A man trying to balance the code of the streets with the dream of something better. Diamond has always carried himself like a leader, but in Season 3, leadership becomes a curse. His brother Jenard pulls at him like gravity, dragging him back into chaos, back into war. Diamond wants peace, but the city doesn't hand out peace, it demands sacrifice. And as the battles grow, Diamond faces the hardest truth of all. Maybe peace and power can't exist in the same world. Jenard Samson, the younger brother, is fire where Diamond is calm, impulsive, reckless, hungry. Jenard isn't satisfied with scraps, and he's not willing to sit in anyone's shadow, not Diamond's. Not Tommy's, not anyone's. His ambition pushes him into dark corners, into deals that poison trust and alliances that bleed loyalty. Jenard doesn't just want a seat at the table, he wants to flip the table, smash it to pieces, and build a new one with his own hands. But ambition without control is a storm, And storms don't care who they destroy. In the shadows, Claudia Flynn sharpens her blade. Cold, clever, and quietly ruthless. If Tommy is fire, Claudia is ice silent, steady, and deadly. Her empire isn't built on loyalty or respect, it's built on fear and innovation. She's the type to smile in your face while she's poisoning your drink. In Season 3, Claudia doesn't just return, she evolves. She isn't chasing her father's legacy anymore. She's creating her own. And it's darker, sharper, and more dangerous than anything we've seen from her before. And let's not forget the new faces. Season 3 doesn't just recycle old grudges, it introduces new predators. Fresh soldiers stepping into Chicago with no fear, no history, no hesitation. Men and women who see Tommy's empire not as untouchable, but as vulnerable. They come with new tactics, new weapons, new alliances. Some of them will become allies. Most will become enemies, and the line between the two? Razor thin. The law, too, becomes a character of its own. Detectives, task forces, and federal heat circling like sharks. They aren't faceless anymore, they're personal, direct, relentless. They know Tommy's name, they know his face, and they know his weaknesses. To them, this isn't just a case, it's a war, and they're ready to bleed Chicago dry if it means bringing him down. But what makes force so compelling is that these aren't just characters, they're stories. Each one carries their own hunger, their own demons, their own ticking clock. Diamond wants redemption, Jenard wants power. Claudia wants control. Tommy wants it all, but every time someone wants it all, blood ends up staining the pavement. And Season 3 raises the stakes higher than ever. Because this time, the characters don't just clash, they collide. Brother against brother. Friend against ally, loyalty against survival. Every character becomes a mirror for Tommy's own choices, forcing him to question the one thing he's always believed in, himself. When the camera cuts to black and the music hits its sharpest note, we're left with one truth: Chicago doesn't create villains or heroes. It creates survivors. And in Season 3, survival is the only crown worth wearing. Asterisk, the first images we see are not of peace, but of chaos. Sirens scream in the distance, red and blue lights flicker against brick walls wet with rain. A single car speeds through the night, headlights cutting through the smoke. The voiceover hits hard. Trust is a weapon, betrayal is war. And just like that, we're thrown into the storm of Season 3. The sneak peek wastes no time. We see Tommy, his eyes locked forward, standing in a dimly lit warehouse. Around him, soldiers wait, guns ready, tension sharp enough to cut through silence. His voice is steady, cold, certain. Anybody standing in my way won't be standing for long. The music pounds heavier, and the screen cuts black, then flashes. A deal gone wrong in a crowded nightclub, bottles shatter, fists fly, a gunshot cracks through the air. Claudia Flynn walks through smoke with calm precision, her hand brushing over a table of cash and product, her smile colder than ice. She leans close to an unknown figure and whispers, "He thinks this is his city. Let's remind him it's ours." Diamond's face flashes on screen next. The weight of leadership heavy in his eyes, sweat dripping as he trains, as if preparing for a war he doesn't want but knows he can't avoid. A quick cut shows him standing across from Jenard, voices raised, anger spilling out in raw emotion. Jenard shouts, "You chose him over me!" Diamond's reply is softer, pained, but no less powerful. "I chose survival." The screen cuts. Again, leaving the brothers in darkness. The pace quickens. A police raid explodes through a safe house door. Agents shout, bullets fly, suspects scatter. Chicago becomes a war zone, a battlefield where every street corner carries a story and every shadow hides an enemy. Law enforcement's voice echoes, "We've got him. We've finally got Egan." But Tommy doesn't go quietly. A flash shows him firing back, running through alleys lit only by muzzle flashes. A ghost in the night, a softer scene breaks the chaos, brief, almost tender. Tommy stares at a photograph tucked in his jacket. His jaw tightens, his eyes burn, but he says nothing. In that silence we remember, behind the soldier, behind the king, behind the warlord, there's still a man scarred by loss. A man who knows every empire is built on graves. The sneak peek pulls us back into the fire. Explosions light up the screen. Cars flip, deals collapse, trust crumbles. A new face emerges, a rival whose name we don't hear, but whose presence commands fear. He steps forward in a crowded room, staring Tommy down, his voice cold. Your time is over. Tommy's smirk is small but dangerous. His answer, then come take it. The music rises, each beat faster than the last. We see Claudia in a bloody standoff, Jenard in a violent brawl, Diamond walking into the unknown with only determination. In his eyes, we see Chicago itself, a city wrapped in smoke, neon lights glowing like wounds across the skyline dot, and then the crescendo. A montage of chaos, Tommy firing into a storm of enemies, a police car engulfed in flames, Claudia holding a knife dripping red, Jenard standing over someone fallen, his chest heaving, his face torn between rage and regret. Diamond, battered but unbroken, gripping a gun with shaking hands. The music cuts suddenly. Silence, black screen. Then one voice, Tommy's, steady. Cold final. This city's mine, and anybody who doubts it can meet me in the dirt. The screen erupts again. Gunfire, explosions, screams. The sneak peek ends with the words crashing onto the screen. Power Book IV. For Season 3, The War for Chicago. Begins. 22:5. The music fades, leaving only the sound of a single heartbeat. Slow, heavy, unstoppable.